The ground beneath your feet starts shaking. At first, it is just a tremor, but it quickly becomes violent. You can barely stand. Buildings around you crack and crumble. The earth itself is splitting open. Everything you thought was solid and stable is falling apart. You feel absolute terror because there is nowhere safe to run. The very foundation of the world is collapsing. This is not just a nightmare. This is one of the most powerful warning dreams your subconscious can create. Earthquake dreams represent foundational upheaval in your life. Everything you have built your security on, everything you thought was stable and permanent is being shaken or is about to be shaken. Your relationships, your career, your beliefs, your identity, your entire life structure is experiencing or about to experience massive disruption. What we are about to reveal will help you understand not just your dream, but what foundational changes are happening in your life right now, and how to survive the transformation that is coming. Stay until the very end, because the message could help you navigate the biggest life shift you have ever faced. Earthquake dreams are among the most intense and psychologically significant natural disaster dreams reported worldwide. They create visceral terror because they attack our most basic need for solid ground, for stability, for foundation. When the earth itself cannot be trusted, when the ground literally disappears beneath your feet, you experience the ultimate loss of security. In the next several minutes, we will explore the hidden meanings behind earthquake dreams. We will decode what it means when the ground shakes versus when buildings collapse. We will reveal what surviving or dying in the earthquake represents. We will explain the spiritual and biblical significance of earthquakes as divine intervention and forced transformation. And most importantly, we will show you what foundational structures in your life are crumbling or need to crumble. By the end, you will understand that earthquake dreams are not random fears. They are accurate reflections of massive life changes that are happening or about to happen. Stay with us until the final message about surviving and thriving through foundational transformation. Let us begin with the fundamental truth about earthquake dreams. Earthquakes and dreams represent foundational upheaval, massive disruption to your life structure, loss of security and stability, and forced transformation. When you dream about an earthquake, your subconscious is telling you that something fundamental in your life is shaking, crumbling, or about to collapse. Think about what an earthquake actually is. An earthquake happens when pressure builds up deep beneath the surface for a long time until it finally releases in a massive, sudden, uncontrollable event. The ground that seems solid and stable was actually building tension underneath. When it breaks, everything built on that foundation is destroyed or damaged. This is the perfect metaphor for psychological and spiritual crisis. Earthquake dreams appear during specific life situations, when your marriage or long-term relationship is crumbling, when your career or life path that you have built for years is suddenly unstable, when beliefs you have held your entire life are being challenged or destroyed, when your sense of identity is being fundamentally shaken, when financial security you thought was solid is collapsing, when your physical or mental health creates a crisis that changes everything. Here is what most people do not understand. Earthquake dreams rarely appear out of nowhere. The pressure, the instability, the foundational problems have been building for a long time. You might have been ignoring warning signs. You might have been in denial. You might have been patching cracks rather than addressing the fundamental problems. But your subconscious knows the truth. The foundation is compromised. The earthquake is coming, or is already here. The specific details of your earthquake dream reveal exactly what kind of foundational upheaval you are experiencing. Let me break down the most important variations. Feeling the ground shake, experiencing the tremor, but not necessarily seeing destruction, represents becoming aware of instability. You are starting to feel that something fundamental is not solid. Maybe you are feeling the first cracks in your marriage. Maybe you are sensing your job is not as secure as you thought. Maybe you are beginning to question beliefs you always accepted. The ground is shaking, but the full destruction has not happened yet. Many people dream about mild earthquakes or tremors that make them nervous but do not cause major damage. This represents anxiety about stability, sensing problems but not yet in full crisis, or warning signs that you are trying to downplay or ignore. Your subconscious is saying, pay attention to these tremors before they become the big one. But dreaming about a massive, devastating earthquake where everything collapses represents full foundational crisis. You are in or approaching a period where everything you built your life on is falling apart. This is not minor instability. This is complete upheaval. Divorce, job loss, death of a loved one, health crisis, financial collapse, identity crisis, spiritual awakening that destroys old beliefs. Any situation where your entire life structure is fundamentally changing. Wait until you hear what this means about your current life situation. Pay attention to what is being destroyed in the earthquake. If buildings are collapsing, this represents structures you built, systems you created, or identities you constructed. Buildings symbolize our constructed realities, the things we made, the lives we built. When they collapse, it means what you created is not sustainable on a faulty foundation. If your house specifically is collapsing in the earthquake, this represents your sense of self, your identity, and your personal life structure being destroyed. Remember from our house dreams video that your house is your psyche and your life. An earthquake destroying your house means your entire sense of self and life is being fundamentally transformed. If you see cities, bridges, roads, or infrastructure collapsing, this represents societal structures, collective beliefs, or the systems you navigate in life falling apart. These dreams can reflect both personal crisis and awareness of larger societal or global upheaval. The ground splitting open, cracks appearing in the earth, or chasms forming represents fundamental divisions, separations, or rifts appearing in your life. The solid unity you thought existed is revealing deep divisions. This could be in relationships, where you realize you and your partner are fundamentally incompatible. This could be in belief systems, where you realize you no longer share values with your community or family. The ground splitting open shows that what seemed unified is actually deeply divided. From a psychological perspective, Carl Jung would view earthquake dreams as representations of the self undergoing radical transformation. The old ego structure must be destroyed so a new, more authentic self can emerge. Earthquakes are not just destruction, they are necessary transformation. They force you to rebuild on a better foundation. The biblical and spiritual meaning of earthquakes are profound. In the Bible, earthquakes accompany divine intervention, judgment, and transformation. The earthquake at Jesus' crucifixion marked a fundamental shift in human spiritual reality. Earthquakes represent God shaking what can be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken remains. Only what is truly solid survives divine earthquake. From a spiritual perspective, earthquake dreams often appear during spiritual awakening or transformation. Your old belief systems, your false sense of self, your ego structures are being shaken and destroyed so your authentic soul can emerge. This is terrifying but necessary. You cannot build the new until the old foundation is cleared. But here is where it gets really important. Pay attention to your response and experience during the earthquake. Are you running, hiding, frozen in fear, trying to save others, calm and accepting? Your behavior reveals how you are handling or will handle the life crisis. If you are running in panic, trying desperately to escape but cannot find safety, This represents feeling that there is no safe place during the upheaval. Everywhere you turn, everything is unstable. You cannot run from this. The crisis is total. If you are trying to save other people, especially family members or loved ones during the earthquake, this represents your protective instincts and fears about others you care about being hurt by the upheaval. You might be more worried about how your life changes will affect others than about yourself. If you are frozen in fear, unable to move while the earthquake happens, this represents feeling paralyzed by crisis, shock preventing action, or being so overwhelmed that you cannot respond. These dreams suggest you might freeze when the actual crisis hits unless you prepare yourself. But if you are strangely calm during the earthquake, accepting what is happening, or even feeling liberated, this represents spiritual maturity and readiness for transformation. You understand that destruction of the old is necessary. You trust the process, even though it is terrifying. The next detail will shock you. Some people dream about trying to hold buildings up, trying to stop the earthquake, or trying to prevent the destruction. This represents denial and resistance. You are trying to hold together what needs to fall apart. You are trying to keep structures standing that are built on bad foundations. But you cannot stop an earthquake. Some things must fall so better things can be built. Now let us explore the earthquake dream variations that reveal the deepest truths about life transformation and foundational change. These details completely transform the interpretation. Surviving the earthquake, emerging from the rubble alive, or finding yourself standing when it is over represents your capacity to survive crisis. You will make it through. The destruction is real, but you will emerge. These survival dreams are actually hopeful. They show that your essential self survives, even when everything around you collapses. Many people dream about digging themselves out of rubble, helping others out, or rebuilding after the earthquake. This represents the recovery and reconstruction phase after crisis. You're not just surviving, you're actively building something new from what remains. This is the positive transformation that comes after destruction. But dying in the earthquake, being crushed by falling buildings, or being swallowed by the splitting earth represents ego death, complete transformation of identity, or the end of your old self. Remember that death in dreams is almost never literal. Death is transformation. If you die in the earthquake, your old identity, your old life, your old self is ending completely. What emerges will be entirely new. Here is something that creates different emotions. Watching an earthquake from a distance, seeing it happen to others or to a city but you are safe, represents awareness of upheaval without direct experience. You might be observing others go through crisis. You might be aware that massive changes are happening in the world or in your community, but you feel personally insulated. Or this could be a warning that the earthquake is coming but has not reached you yet. Alternatively, watching from a distance can represent dissociation from your own crisis. You are watching your life fall apart as if it is happening to someone else. You are not emotionally present in your own upheaval. The next detail will reveal deep truth. Earthquake happening while you are inside a building versus outside in the open. If you are inside a building during the earthquake, you are trapped within structures, systems, or identities when they collapse. The danger is greater because you are inside what is falling. If you are outside in the open, you have more freedom to move, respond, and survive. This reveals whether you are trapped in the life structures being destroyed or whether you have some freedom and distance from them. Inside suggests you are deeply embedded in what is collapsing. Outside suggests you have some perspective and mobility from them. What about repeated earthquake dreams, experiencing multiple earthquakes in the same dream, or having earthquake dreams night after night? This represents ongoing crisis, continuous instability, or aftershocks from initial upheaval. Just when you think things are stable, another shake happens. This reflects real-life situations where one crisis leads to another, or where recovery keeps being interrupted by new problems. Here is a scenario that creates additional fear. Earthquake with tsunami, fire, or other disasters following it. The earthquake triggers secondary catastrophes. This represents how one foundational crisis creates cascading problems in multiple life areas. The end of your marriage causes financial crisis. Job loss triggers identity crisis and depression. One foundational shake creates disaster in every area of life. Earthquake prediction or warning in dreams, knowing it is coming before it hits, represents conscious awareness that crisis is approaching. You can feel it building. You know something major is about to happen. The question is whether you use this warning to prepare or whether you ignore it and hope it does not come. Some people dream about trying to warn others about the earthquake, but no one believes them. This represents feeling that you can see the crisis coming, but others are in denial, or feeling alone in your awareness that foundational problems exist. What about dreaming that you caused the earthquake, or that your actions trigger it? This represents taking responsibility for crisis, recognizing that your choices contributed to foundational instability, or feeling guilt about changes that affect others. Maybe your decision to leave a marriage or quit a job is the earthquake that shakes everyone's stability. Here is something that creates hope. Discovering that what remains after the earthquake is beautiful. Finding treasure in the ruins, or seeing new growth emerging from the destruction. This represents the gift hidden in crisis, the treasure that could only be found by destruction of the false, or the new life that emerges when old structures fall. Let us elevate this understanding to the deepest spiritual level. Earthquake dreams are sacred invitations to transformation. They appear when your soul knows that the foundation you are living on is false, unstable, or no longer serving your highest good. The earthquake is not punishment, it is liberation. Here is the profound spiritual truth. You have built your life on something that cannot hold. Maybe you built on others' expectations instead of your authentic calling. Maybe you built on ego instead of soul. Maybe you built on false beliefs instead of truth. Maybe you built on security instead of meaning. Whatever the foundation, it is crumbling because it was never meant to support your real life. The earthquake is your soul saying it is time to rebuild on true foundation, on what is real, on what cannot be shaken, on essence instead of appearance, on truth instead of comfort, on authenticity instead of approval. This is terrifying because it requires letting everything false fall away, but it is also the most liberating thing that can happen. In the Bible, Hebrews says God will shake everything that can be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will remain. Your earthquake dreams are this divine shaking. Everything false, everything built on sand, everything that is not truly you will be shaken until it falls. And what remains will be solid because it is real. When you embrace your earthquake dreams, when you stop resisting the foundational transformation, instead ask what needs to fall so truth can be built, you transform terror into trust. You discover that the ground beneath your feet is not circumstances, not relationships, not security, not success. The only ground that cannot shake is your essence, your soul, your connection to what is eternal and true. So here is our critical question for you. What happened in your earthquake dream? Did buildings collapse? Did you survive? And here is the deeper question. What foundation in your real life is crumbling or needs to crumble so something true can be built? Share in the comments below if you feel safe to. Your story might help someone else recognize their own earthquake. If this video helped you understand that your earthquake dreams are warnings about foundational upheaval and invitations to rebuild on truth, please hit that like button and subscribe to Hidden Dream Meanings. We decode the transformation messages your soul sends through crisis dreams every single week. Click the notification bell so you never miss guidance through life's biggest shakeups. And here is something important. If you dream about other natural disasters like floods, fires, or tornadoes, we have videos about those. Each natural disaster carries specific meaning about different types of crisis. Check the playlist in the description. Here is the final truth that could save you. Foundations will shake. Structures will fall. This is not the end. This is the clearing. This is making space for what is real to be built. You cannot build the true life on a false foundation. The earthquake, as terrifying as it is the necessary destruction that makes authentic life possible. So when your foundation shakes, when everything you built falls apart, when the ground itself disappears beneath your feet, remember this: you are not falling, you are being freed. The false is being destroyed so the true can emerge. The structures built on sand are collapsing so you can finally build on rock. Let it shake, let it fall, let it crumble. And when the dust settles, when the earthquake is over, you will discover what cannot be shaken: your essence, your truth, your soul. These remain, and on this unshakable foundation, you will build a life that can withstand anything. The earthquake is not your destruction, it is your transformation. Trust it, survive it, and emerge ready to build what is real. Until next time, may you find solid ground beneath your feet, may you build only on truth, and may you know that what is truly you can never be shaken.